Hello students and welcome to SmartKidz tutorials. In this video, we'll be going through a mind map of sources of energy where we will look to quickly go through or revise what is there in the chapter of sources of energy. So we begin first with what is a good fuel or what is a good source of energy. Something that has a high calorific value, which when burning a little amount of fuel can give you more work. Okay. Secondly, also that is not mentioned over here, but that it should burn with as less smoke as possible. Right? In other words, it should be environmental friendly. When we also speak of high calorific value, we speak about how economical the fuel should be. As in, we can't afford a fuel which costs us a lot. So we need to make sure that the fuel does not pinch our pockets. Also, it should be easy to transport. See, we have petrol. It's easy to transport. That is why it is in demand. Okay, we can store it in the petrol tanks, which is there present in our vehicles. So we can take it around wherever we don't have to carry a separate bag or a separate bottle for that. Okay, it should be easy to store. So what we see is that we can travel with it safely and we can keep it safely. See, when you get petrol from a petrol station, okay, from a petrol pump. Now, this petrol pump have petrol bunks underground, okay. So where you take your vehicle to fill petrol, right underneath there is a petrol bunk where these petrol stations they store the fuel, which is then pumped through a pipe. The fuel is put into your bikes or maybe in your cars. So that tells you that it is easy to store. Okay, so some properties that you should know about a good fuel is it should have a high calorific value, it should be easy to store, should be easy to transport, economical, environment friendly. There are many fuels available, but all the fuels are not feasible, as in we can't use them because they do not fulfill this criteria. Those that fulfill this criteria are in high demand. That's why you see that the petroleum products, like you have your CNG, then you have your LNG, then you have your petrol, kerosene. These are good fuels because they fulfill all these criteria over here. When we speak about energy, we should understand one thing, that these energy, it follows a law of conservation of energy. And what does the law of conservation of energy say? It says energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but can be transformed from one form to another. So we can't create energy, neither can we destroy it, but we can successfully transform one form of energy into other. For example, see, if you have a toaster at home, okay, we connect the toaster's plug into a switch and then we switch it on. So what are we doing? We're passing electric current to that. But what does the electric toaster do? It heats up our bread, our sliced bread, toasts it. So the electric current is being converted into heat energy. So electrical energy is being converted to heat energy and it serves us a process. Same thing happens with fan. Electrical energy is being converted into a different form of energy that gives us air and so on. Okay, so energy can be transformed from one form to another. Okay, there are various forms of energy. You have electrical energy, you have kinetic energy, mechanical energy, heat energy, light energy. Light is a form of energy. Okay, so one form of energy can be converted into another, but we cannot destroy energy, neither can we create one. Speaking about the various sources of energy, that is the core part of this chapter. We speak about the conventional sources of energy and the non-conventional sources of energy. Now, the conventional sources of energy are what we also call as the non-renewable sources of energy. Okay, something that we cannot renew. And on the other hand, we have non-conventional sources of energy, which are renewable sources and which increasingly we are trying to tap in order to move away from these non-renewable sources. The very fact that it says non-renewable, we should understand that we cannot renew it, or it takes many years to regenerate them. And when I say many years, it won't mean like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It could mean millions of years. Most of these, under the conventional sources of energy that we use, have taken many years. Some of them are listed over here. Like for example, you have coal, oil, the wood that we use from forest, thermal power plants, which also use coal. Then you have nuclear energy. Now you may say nuclear energy that is generated can go on endlessly and give us a long lots of energy. But the fact remains, the fuel required for this nuclear energy, that is uranium or thorium, okay, they are limited. They have limited reserves. So once they are exhausted, we will not be able to get more of this uranium, thorium, plutonium. These are radioactive materials, radioactive elements, which are used in nuclear reactors to generate nuclear energy. So those are in limited uh, resources or limited reserves, you can say, of them. When we speak about all of these in the chapter, the advantages and disadvantages have been listed. One thing that has been highlighted throughout this chapter is that we are increasingly looking to move away from non-renewable sources to renewable sources. Okay, we're trying to tap. Nowadays, we have even electric bikes or electrical vehicles, electrical cars. The reason why government is promoting them, giving various tax breaks on them, is because the government wants to reduce the fossil fuels that we are exhausting at an increasingly rapid pace. And by saying fossil fuels, fossil fuels are those fuels, okay, which have been are non-renewable sources of energy, and these are fuels which have been formed over millions of years ago, um, based on the dead decaying material of animals and plants, okay, so living organisms. But we continue to largely be dependent on these fossil fuels for most of our energy requirements. That is what we need to increasingly avoid moving further. So this coal, this oil, and this burning of coal also has a lot of disadvantages. The disadvantage of this burning of fossil fuels, not just coal but oil. See, from oil we get our various petroleum products like petrol, diesel. Okay, now there are various disadvantages of this. First of all, it causes air pollution. Okay, by burning of coal or petroleum products, the oxides of carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, these are released on burning fossil fuels. These are acidic oxide, and they are in large amounts. They even lead to acid rain, which affects our water and soil resources, and can also cause a lot of health effects as well. Then they also result in greenhouse effect of these gases like carbon dioxide, causes heating up of the earth masses. Okay, and that has an impact on the overall climate scenario. So you must have heard about climate change. So this climate change has been attributed because of the burning of this fossil fuels at an alarmingly rapid rate. This can be reduced. The pollution that is caused by burning of this can be reduced by increasing the efficiency of the combustion process. But there is a limit to how much we have been able to do that. Okay, we have tried to improve the efficiency of, see, this vehicles that we have, two-wheelers, four-wheelers, these are known as combustion engines. They cause combustion of the fuel that is burning in the presence of oxygen. Now, we have been trying to increase the efficiency, as in trying to make sure that little fuel is utilized and more work is done out of it. Okay? But there's a limit to that. Also, the other thing, we are trying to use various techniques to reduce the escape of harmful gases and ashes into the surrounding. Okay, so burning of wood, okay, it leads to release of carbon dioxide, also leads to ashes which are harmful, you know, for those, especially those who have breathing problems like asthma and so forth. This thermal power plant. Large amount of fossil fuels are burnt every day in our power stations. Why? To heat up water to produce steam, which further runs the turbines to generate electricity. So we are trying to move away from them by trying to tap into this renewable sources of energy like wind energy, hydroelectricity, tidal wave energy, geothermal energy, and so forth. These thermal power plants are set up near coal fields or oil fields. transmission of electricity, however, is considered to be more efficient than transporting coal or petroleum over the same distance. Coming to nuclear energy. Now, nuclear energy, we know there are two things that you need to remember in the nuclear energy: nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Fission is what splitting of atom. It refers to splitting, and fusion means coming together. Okay, so you in fission you have the nucleus of a heavier atom, which when bombarded with lower energy neutrons split into higher nuclei, and then you have nuclear fusion, in which two lightweight nuclei combine to form stable heavier nucleus, and both of these lead to a liberation of large amount of energy, which is further utilized. Okay, so advantages are, see, utilizing small amount of the fuel, large amount of energy is produced. Okay, and moreover, it's just the initial cost, but otherwise, the cost effectiveness is quite a lot if it is properly utilized. So it produces more energy than the fossil fuels. Now, disadvantage. First of all, it is dangerous. Okay, it can have a lot of problems because there are problems with regards to its storage, disposal, nuclear waste, and so forth. So any radiation leak from nuclear reactors can cause a lot of problems. Okay, like I'm not sure if you have heard about the Chernobyl blast in the former USSR, wherein a small leakage caused a blast of a nuclear reactor, leading to the death of many. And till today, that land over there is inhabited. That means nobody stays over there. So there are dangers about that. Okay, these are the dangers. So this is about the conventional sources, the non-renewable sources. Under renewable sources, you have a host of them. There's a lot of research going on them to increase the efficiency, meaning to improve how we can utilize them efficiently, as in utilize less of the raw materials or resources and gain more amount of energy. Okay, so you have over here hydro energy. First of all, so hydro energy deals with refers to hydroelectricity or hydropower plants, in which hydropower plants convert potential energy of falling water into electricity. Okay, so you usually find building of dams which are necessary over there. So in order to produce hydel electricity, high-rise dams have to be constructed on the river to obstruct the flow of water, which collects in large reservoirs. Okay, and water level rises, and then the process, its kinetic energy of flowing water gets transformed into potential energy. That is, so when they fall down, they rotate the turbines at the bottom of the dam and generate electricity. There are disadvantages and advantages to this. We'll speak about the advantages first, as to how they are useful. The advantages of that is it's a clean energy. Okay, no pollution at all. It's a renewable source of energy. Okay, that's two of them good enough. The disadvantages. Okay, coming to the disadvantages of this, you must understand that construction generation of hydropower plants need go hand in hand with construction of big dams, and this construction have certain problems. Now, the dams can be constructed only in a limited number of places, preferably in hilly terrains. Okay, because after all, the water has to fall from a particular height. Large areas of this agricultural land, which also includes people staying over there with their livestock and so forth, they have to be sacrificed. They have to be asked to move to another place, because there's always a danger of water overflowing, collapse of the dam. So these people could die. I mean, they could get submerged. The whole area over there could get submerged. The houses could go away. This also involves clearing up a large part of the ecosystem. So large ecosystems are also destroyed. Vegetation gets destroyed because it gets submerged, it rots under anaerobic conditions. And it is not easy for people to move to another place. If you are asked to leave your house and move to another place, how easy would that be? It will be very difficult. Plus, you have sentiments attached to your house and to your area, to your land. Nobody wants to do that. Okay, So these are certain disadvantages attached to hydro energy. Moving on to biomass. Okay, when we speak about biomass, the one thing that comes to our mind is the gobar gas. Okay, and we speak about gobar gas, we are talking about gas that is obtained because of cow dung. So what is this biogas? In a biogas, you have a tank, and a slurry of cow dung and water is made. It's put in the mixing tank, and from where it is fed into the digester. Now, the digester is a sealed chamber, small, and there's no oxygen. So it's because there's no oxygen. It's the other term for that is anaerobic. So anaerobic microorganisms go. Those organisms which can survive without oxygen, they grow over there, and they break down the products into simpler materials. That leads to a evolving of gas. Gas is given out, and the major gas considered over here is methane, okay, which is considered to be a clean fuel. But apart from methane, you have also have carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide. These gases are also given out. This gas is stored in the gas tank above the digester, and from which it is drawn into a pipe, and then it is used. The slurry that is left behind, that means all the leftover material, is removed from time to time and used. It is an excellent manure, so rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. Okay, so biogas is considered to be an excellent fuel as it contains max of 75% of methane. Its advantages are many. It's a renewable source of energy. Okay, hardly costs anything because you are not generating anything to get the cow dung. Okay, it burns without smoke, leaves no residue like ash in wood, charcoal, or coal burning. It has a high heating capacity, and biogas is also known to use for lighting purpose as well. Okay, those are some advantages that we should know about biogas. Moving on to wind energy. Wind energy means we need to establish windmills. Okay, and there are some advantages and disadvantages to that. Now, advantages, obviously, it's a renewable source of energy. Lots of uh, electricity can be generated as long as there is lots of wind available in that particular area. It's a clean source of energy because it's utilizing just wind, and very cheap because we are not paying anything for the energy. It is available freely. Okay, what are the disadvantages? Okay, now disadvantages are a few but quite significant about wind energy. See, wind energy farms can only be established in places where wind blows for large parts of the year. Okay, that is the problem with wind energy farms. And it should have a particular wind speed. It should not be just okay type, it should be 15 kilometers per hour. That is the standard to maintain the required speed of the turbine. There should also be backup facility like storage cells, because just in case something happens, if it fails, okay, then it needs a large area of land, okay, and where others are not staying, and also a hilly area, right? So initial cost of establishment is also quite high considering the equipment required. And since the tower and blades are exposed to nature, as in there's a lot of wind, there's rain, a lot of sun, sometimes there's storms and cyclones, so they need also a high level of maintenance, so that can be a bit expensive. Moving next, we have tidal energy. And in case of tidal energy, this is due to the gravitational pull mainly of the moon on the spinning earth. Okay, the level of water will rise, I mean the sea rises and falls, and that leads to high and low tides. The difference in the sea levels is what gives us this tidal energy. Now, limitations, I mean the drawbacks of this is a few, okay, but the quite significant is that there are very few places in the world where we can actually look to tap or harness this tidal energy. Okay, and this rise and fall of water during tides is usually not very large, so large scale generation of electricity is not possible. Small scale, okay. Okay, advantages, yes, renewable source of energy, clean, it is clean source of environmental friendly, and definitely costs quite less. Moving further to wave energy. wave energy is similar to tidal energy. Okay, here in this wave energy, we look to tap the kinetic energy. So kinetic energy possessed by huge waves near the seashore can be trapped into a similar manner to generate electricity. Okay, same problems, limitations as far as the tidal waves are concerned. Okay, that everywhere in the world you don't find huge waves. Okay, and the amount of waves that are generated from there, not a large amount of electricity can be generated. Okay. Advantages again, renewable, environmental friendly, and really cheap raw material, as in nothing at all. Coming to geothermal energy next. The word thermal itself means heat is generated from earth. Geo means earth. So, due to geological changes, molten rocks formed in deeper hot regions of earth crust are pushed upwards and trapped in certain region of hotspots. So when this underground water comes in contact with hotspots, steam is generated. And sometimes the hot water from that region finds outlets at the surface. So such outlets are known as hot springs. The steam tapped in rocks is then routed through a pipe to a turbine, which is used to generate electricity. Advantages: cost of production not much, available 24 hours a day, renewable sources of energy, and one friendly. Now, limitations again, very few places in the world you will find such hotspots. Then also the other thing is how much of electricity can you actually generate from this, or how much of energy can be tapped from this for generation of electricity. These geothermal energy operations are going on in New Zealand and US. So not everybody can do that. Okay. Finally, we move on to the last one, and that is the ocean thermal energy. Here, what happens is the water at the surface of the sea or ocean is heated by the sun, and while the water that is right down, okay, is relatively cold because sunlight does not reach over there. Light is a form of energy, carries heat also. So this heat does not reach down. As a result, it is cold. So down deep in the ocean at the bottom of the surface is cold. Right on top where light is falling, there it is warm. So there's a difference in temperatures. This difference in temperature is then exploited to obtain energy in this ocean thermal energy conversion plants. Okay. Now, as far as this is concerned, again, how much of energy can we actually get to convert it into electricity? That is a question. Okay. So similar, there are lots other ways where we can actually transfer one energy into another, especially electrical energy. But the question is that how much of energy are we generating in the end? That is what needs to be counted. So in a nutshell, when we look at different sources of energy, we look at how economical or how feasible it is to get and run any equipment or any vehicle or even generate electricity with this fuel. But at the same time, we also have to look at the environmental consequences. See, exploiting any source of energy does disturb the environment in some way or other. What we need to see is where we can minimize the impact on the environment. We are facing a lot of climate change issues these days, because of which the weather patterns are changing. Change in the weather pattern also leads to change in the cropping pattern, disturbs the cropping pattern, as a result of which the productivity of farm productivity, as in the amount of food that is generated, gets affected, and this leads to unnecessary impact on the economy of the country and thereby impacting the world. So when we use our when we look to tap sources of energy, we have to see how we can uh, economically beneficially use it for our purpose, at the same time make sure that the environment is also kept in mind while using this energy sources, so that the environment in which we live, the earth on which we live, does not get disturbed and eventually does not get destroyed because of our greed. Okay, so this is what we cover in this chapter of sources of energy, a brief summary of what all is covered in this chapter. If you've liked watching this video, do not forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends as well as your classmates. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel so far, please do subscribe. Thank you for watching and keep watching for more such videos. Thank you.